This is Dr. Lederman.
WABC, New York.
Here's Dr. Gil Lederman, New York's only Harvard-trained, triple-board certified radiation cancer doctor. If chemosurgery or radiation isn't working or isn't tolerated, when cancer and its pain and symptoms aren't getting better, seek a fresh second opinion at Radiosurgery New York's Urgent Cancer Consultants for innovative, custom-tailored cancer treatment. See our experts within one business day because we know your time and your life are precious. Our goal is proper diagnosis and effective, non-invasive outpatient treatment. Decades of leadership, first in New York with brain radiosurgery, first in America with body radiosurgery for cancers of the brain, body, and prostate, all custom-tailored for you. Call 212-CHOICES, 212-CHOICES for a prompt appointment and free booklet DVD. Super convenient, 38th and Broadway, with most insurances, Medicare, Medicaid accepted. You're next at Radiosurgery New York. Just call 212-CHOICES, 212-CHOICES.
You know, cancer, it's not prejudice. It strikes everyone. We've seen the racists with the big C. We've seen humanitarians struck down with the big C. But there are remedies, even if you've already had different measures of treatment, like prior chemo, surgery, or radiation that didn't work. Now, I'm telling you, there's a guy out there who is clearly the best at this. First tryout or second tryout. That's Dr. Gil Lederman. My personal experience in 1991 is he came up with a remedy for my dad. Others had passed on it or just couldn't figure it out. He was able to save my dad's life, and my family will always, always be grateful to him. But look, if you have newly diagnosed and recurrent cancers anywhere in the body, Gil Lederman's the guy to go to. He's a brain and prostate cancer as well as body cancer expert, also treating breast, lung, pancreas, liver, kidney cancers, and more. So, to hit the cancer, you call 212-CHOICES and set up an appointment with Dr. Gil Lederman, 212-CHOICES. Or do it for someone that you know won't do it for themselves. He'll send you an informative booklet DVD in advance, and then you cop a squat with him at his offices at 38th and Broadway. Dr. Gil Lederman takes most insurances, Medicare, and Medicaid. Just call Dr. Gil Lederman for your cancer treatment choices at 212-CHOICES, 212-CHOICES, 212-CHOICES.
Welcome back to the Radiosurgery Hour. This is Rob Redstone here with Dr. Gil Lederman at the WABC studios in the heart of New York City. We're just a few steps from the Radiosurgery New York Cancer Treatment Center on Broadway and 38th Street. Dr. Lederman, the leading cancer expert, treats prostate cancer non-invasively. He was the first in New York with fractionated brain radiosurgery, and he's the first in America and in the Western Hemisphere with body radiosurgery. Hey, Dr. Lederman, we're back.
We're back. We just had a caller who wanted to check on that number. Yes, it's 212-CHOICES, which is 212-246-4237. 212-246-4237. If you have a medical issue or if you want during the week the booklets and DVD, just give us a call. Back in the good news department, we had a visit this week from a woman I treated 12 years ago for kidney cancer. She had cancer of the kidney, biopsy proven. She did not want to lose her kidney or part of her kidney. We treated her with radiosurgery in 2002. Yes, we were active doing body radiosurgery. We were the first in America doing body radiosurgery. We've been at it about 20 years. So she came in 2002. She is cancer-free to this day. She has her own kidneys, both of them. They are functional. They're fully functional. She's doing great. I see her about twice a year, and praise the Lord and pass the ammunition, as they would say. She is doing great. But another man who came in this week with lung cancer, and this man had a couple strokes, and so he had some neurologic condition for some time. And yet he was seen elsewhere, and elsewhere they did not completely stage him up. I said, well, if he had strokes, how do you know if his neurologic condition is from the strokes or if he's got some other tumor in the head? And elsewhere, they had declined to work him up. I worked him up, and we found a metastasis in the brain. So we are using treatment, again, radiosurgery, to treat the lung and the brain. We found that, and obviously it's better to find the tumor in the brain before it causes more harm to the brain. Even if he's had a stroke in the past, you can still have more harm from the metastasis in the brain. And most people, I think, would want to be treated to prevent that. Our success rate in the brain is very, very high. And again, without any invasion or cutting. And then we had a patient at the other end of the extremes, a 53-year-old black man, and I say what his race is because this man has a Gleason 8 cancer with a PSA of 900. Wow, that's right. So PSA is the blood test. It measures how aggressive the cancer is. Now, normal is considered less than 4. His is 900. And the Gleason score, when his prostate was biopsied, showed a Gleason 8. Gleason was that pathologist to give us an idea of how aggressive the cancer is on a scale of 2 to 10. 2 is very dormant, and 10 is very aggressive, and his is very aggressive, and he's had a lot of pain. He had a bone scan done elsewhere which showed the cancer had traveled to the bone. He was having pain, which is why he came to us, because he started on hormonal therapy and it didn't relieve his pain. So we staged him up. We saw that the cancer was still very active in the bones, causing his pain, and offered him treatment for that, which he accepted. This man had so much pain, in fact, he overdosed on aspirin and ended up having bleeding from his stomach from gastritis. So aspirin is a strong, real medicine. Now, you don't need a prescription for it, but it can do good things and it can do harmful things. And for this man who overdosed on aspirin, he ended up with such a gastritis that he lost a lot of blood, many units of blood. So is his pain real? Yes. Can he be helped? Yes. Are we going to help him? Yes. This man also, he's worried about growing breasts. Men with metastatic prostate cancer on hormonal therapy can grow breasts because the hormones take away the testosterone. They change the balance of the body between estrogens and testosterone, and many men grow breast on hormonal therapy. Well, we can stop that in most cases just by giving a little shot of treatment to the breast buds, just that area underneath the nipples. We can stop that from occurring in most men, and he's most interested to avoid developing what's called gynecomastia, which is enlargement of the breast. It's often painful. For many men it's embarrassing, you can imagine. So we can probably help this man in many ways, take away the pain, allow the bone to heal up, and we have studies that actually show the bone will heal up in general after our treatment, and we can help prevent gynecomastia, the painful enlargement of the breast that happens to many men on hormonal therapy. And then there's a man who came to us with a pituitary tumor. We got his images, and the pituitary tumor, the pituitary gland is called the master gland, and it runs the thyroid and sexual functions and other functions in the body, and it's located just next to what's called the optic chiasm. Now, the vision from both eyes, I assume God gave us two eyes to have stereo vision and to protect us in case something terrible happened to one eye. Well, the way our body's made, all the vision nerves go through a point called the chiasm. So there's this one critical point that if something happens to the chiasm, a person can go blind just by one abnormality at one spot, and that's where the pituitary is. So this man has a very enlarged pituitary that's right now touching on the chiasm. If it grows more, it may well take away his vision, which would be obviously devastating. This man actually came, he had low testosterone, and the doctors wanted to give him testosterone. He said, well, why don't you check my pituitary gland? Shouldn't we find out why I have low testosterone? So he's a pretty smart man, very smart man, very interesting man. He got a scan of his pituitary and found, yes, the pituitary was very enlarged. He refused surgery, even though the tumor's up against the chiasm. He came to us, and we talked about all the options, including surgery. I'm happy to talk about surgery because I think when people hear about us versus surgery, the difference is so great. Most people would decline surgery in place of other highly effective, non-invasive outpatient therapy. So this man came to us. He's coming back next week for mapping out of his pituitary. We're getting a new scan with contrast so we can best see exactly where the pituitary is in relationship to the chiasm and other structures. Do we treat pituitary tumors? Yeah, we treat a lot of benign tumors. Sometimes they think cancer doctors only treat cancer, but we actually treat a lot of benign tumors, especially in the head, meningiomas. Earlier this hour, I talked about acoustic neuromas. We have the world's largest experience treating acoustic neuromas with fractionated stereotactic radiosurgery, non-invasive treatment, and pituitary, as well as other benign tumors in the head. So do we do it? Yes. And a news article, I started talking about this last week, and we ran out of time, so I wanted to talk about it again. There's an article, and it was published by Lena Sun in the Washington Post, that looked at common costs for blood tests in hospitals. So you might think, well, if you have a more expensive test, it must be better. And a lot of people think, oh, my doctor charges $50,000. He must be so fantastic. And my doctor only charges $2. He must be so terrible. Well, what happens when you take the same test done on the same machine? What's the difference in cost? That's the point of this research. It was research done from the University of California, San Francisco, and is reported by Lena Sun in the Washington Post. It was in the past week. And she writes out, imagine walking into a hospital being charged more than $10,000 for a blood test to check your cholesterol. Can you imagine that? Do you think it's true? And imagine going to another hospital in the same state and being charged $10 for the same exact blood test. And she writes, that's what a team led by University of California, San Francisco researcher found when it looked at prices in California hospitals for 10 common blood tests. Okay, so look at things like electrolytes, sodium, potassium, glucose. That's what one of the blood tests that typically are done when your doctor says you're going to do blood tests. Well, what was the range in cost for getting that test? Now, remember, the tests are all done. They draw your blood, and they stick it in a machine, and out pops the data. So whether you get it at the Rolls-Royce or the Chevrolet dealer, the test is the same. It's not a Rolls-Royce or Chevrolet. It's the test. Well, one hospital for sodium, potassium, glucose, and other tests of your blood. One charged $35. One charged $7,300. The biggest range, a lipid profile, measures triglycerides and cholesterol. So a lot of people come in and say, check my cholesterol. Okay, check my cholesterol. Well, what happens if you went to a hospital, check your cholesterol, and the price came back at $10,000? And you go to another hospital, and it's $10. Wow. So you want to know why you get shocked? Because there's such this range. Now, the study was published in the British Medical Journal, so it's a very prestigious journal, and she writes, the author writes, unlike other medical services or procedures that might vary by doctor or patient, these blood tests are common, simple, standard procedure. A technician draws blood from a patient, walks to a lab where the blood sample is put in a machine that performs analysis. And she wrote, in general, for most of these tests, nobody is doing hand assays or looking into a microscope. Now, often people with health insurance don't pay the prices. The insurance company negotiates the price, so probably hospitals that charge $10,000 saying, hey, it's $10,000 for this test, and the insurance company says, oh, we'll give you whatever. And some hospitals say it's $10, and okay. But what happens if you don't have insurance and you walk in that hospital and get that test and you get a bill for $10,000? You don't have the insurance company negotiating for you. And it seems like they're just taking advantage of people thinking that they're going to get the square deal, and they don't get a square deal at all. We are a low-cost provider, and I've talked about this before. We had one patient who came in for a procedure in our hospital, in our facility. We don't have a hospital, we're a cancer treatment center. Prostate brachytherapy, we put radiation seeds in the prostate. We got paid less than $5,000, and the same day someone walks in a nearby cancer hospital Same procedure. The only difference is we were both scheduled at 7 o'clock in the morning. Our procedure went at 7 o'clock, and the patient was home by 9. This guy at the cancer place